All right, here we go again. Part three of our Python review. And we are reviewing the basic concepts of Python, but we're trying to do it in an interesting way using the Turtle module because you can see it visually. And there are many other ways that we could do it, but this is a Turtle module. We're continuing. This is part 3, like I said. If you haven't watched part 1 or part 2, then I suggest you go ahead and stop this video, watch part 1 and 2, then you can come back over here and watch part 3. So let's continue where we left off. Now, where did we leave off? We left off by creating our 3 shapes that we're going to allow the user to select from. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to just go ahead and delete this comment that we have here. Before, we used a for loop. And I mentioned to you before that there are 2 types of loops in Python. We got the for loop, which is the counting loop, executes the code X amount of time. But we also have another type of, I'm going to say this is a conditional loop. It's the while loop. And the reason why it's a conditional loop is a condition needs to be either true or false. If it's true, then the code inside the while loop will execute. So an example of this is, and I'm listening to music right now that you can't hear. So while the music is playing, keep dancing. Okay, so that's true because I'm listening to music and you can't hear it. So while the music is playing, I'm going to keep dancing. And if I told you, if I started playing the music and I say, hey, while the music is playing, keep dancing, what happens if I don't stop the music to make the condition false? So it's true the music is playing. If I don't make that condition false by stopping the music, you're probably going to dance until your legs fall off or until you fall over, right? Exactly. So when we have a while loop, it's different from the for loop, which is a counting loop, because now the while loop, we need a condition to be either be true or false. And if you remember, the true or false are Boolean values, right? And if you don't make that condition false, then you have a infinite loop, a loop that goes on and on and on. It's like the song that goes on and never ends. So you'll just, if the music is playing, while the music is playing, keep dancing. You'll just dance until you drop. So what I'm going to do is, so in order to get out of the loop, we got to break out of the loop. We got to break out of the cycle. And in order to break out of the loop, we need to set the condition to false. Okay, and when we set the condition to false, we just break out of it. It's like you're stuck in a vortex or a endless loop, and then you condition is false, you break out. All right, so let's get going. The first thing we need for the while loop is, all right, change it up. Remember, we're reviewing a lot of the concepts we covered before. I'm going to say 95% of the concept we covered before. So first thing we're going to type is the keyword while. Remember, it's either true or false or Boolean values, because Boolean, true or false, that's the data type. So we're going to say while true. All right, we set it to true. Why do you think we set it to true? We set it to true so that the code can execute for the first time. And then you notice the indentation here, because the indentation tells the computer that this block of code, the set of instructions I'm about to give you right now, belongs to the while loop. Okay, so we're going to say while true. Let's see, we're going to ask the user for the shape. We're going to create a variable called shape, and inside the variable we're going to keep or store what the user enters. So we're going to, how do we get input from the user? Another review. We get input from the user by using the input function. So remember, the input function gets input from the user, and the print function prints to the screen. So output, input in, print, output. So we're going to use not the print function, but the input function to get the answer that we're going to store in the variable. And remember, we know that we're going to put it in the variable because we have the equal sign, and the equal sign is called the assignment operator, right? Because it assigns the value to the variable. So we're going to say input. We're going to say in the quotation either single quotes or double quotes, doesn't matter. I think I'll use single quotes for you guys because it's, you don't have to press the shift key. So we're going to say enter a shape, enter a shape to draw. Okay, and we're going to tell the user what. Let's see, we have a pentagon. Let's see if I can. We're going to draw the pentagon. We're going to draw the pentagon. Then we're going to draw the hexagon. Why did I close? Oh my goodness. No, we don't close this. Pentagon, we keep it in the quotes. We're going to put comma. I don't know what's come over me. The music is probably too loud. Hexagon, make sure you spell it right. And then we're going to do the octagon. Make sure you spell it right. And now we're going to close the quotes. Now, actually, before we close the quote, let's always remember that we're going to give some space, right? And so the user know that they need to enter. I want to do this, a little bit of this. Space, enter. Okay, that looks, give them a little bit of space, give them an arrow so they know where to go. And actually, this looks like a little shape here. So this looks like a happy face upside down. Okay, so then we're gonna, as you see, I backspace, so I'm outside my loop. I want to still stay in my loop, so I'm going to come on up here and then just press enter. So I'm inside my loop. So we're going to ask them for the input, and then after they enter the input, we're going to store it in a variable. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a series of checks or condition to see if they enter the input that we wanted. So the first thing, and I'm going to type, I may type fast, pause the video, make sure you catch it before you move on, okay? So we're going to say if, let's check, because we always assume the user is going to enter the wrong thing. So if first thing we're going to check is, make another space here, so it's cleaner for you to see. We're going to say if the shape is equal to, let's do it in the order we have it. If the shape is equal to pentagon, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Make sure single quotes or double quotes. The if condition we're checking, always the syntax is the column at the end, just like the for loop, right? Just like the def. And that's going to prompt the computer to give us that 4 spaces of indentation. So if it's a pentagon, something I have to do in Trinket, which you might not need to do, is now I need to tell it to go to a certain position, because Trinket kinds of truncates or shrinks the screen. So I'm going to tell it to go to position and tell my turtle name is Jack. So I'm going to tell him, hey Jack, you're going to go to longitude or latitude, like a map, like position 0, 0. Okay, there. Yep, I'm going to say go to this position, and then you're going to draw. I'm going to draw the shape. And when I say draw the shape, now I got to call my function to draw the shape, pentagon. Let's also call this function draw pentagon. That's my function name. So I like to also run my code. Of course, I made a mistake. Bad token, line 29. So shape equals input, enter a shape. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, I know what's wrong. Let's continue. Okay. Sure, so we have the input here. I'm going to give you guys a minute to double check. Take a guess at what you think the error is on line 29. And this is something I always caution. If you start with a single quote, then you must end with a single quote. If you start with a double quote, then you must end with a double quote. Okay, so I started with a single quote, so I ended with a single quote. The recording button was covering at one point, so I lost track. Okay, so you see the code is working. So I'm going to go ahead and save that.